It was 2:47 a.m. when I first heard it. A knock, 3 times, from the basement door. The one that wasn't supposed to exist. That sound still echoes in my head, and sometimes, even now, I can swear I hear it again when I try to sleep. Just a few days before that night, I had moved into a small rental house on Cedar Hill Road, about 15 minutes outside Asheville, North Carolina. The place was cheap, quiet, surrounded by forest, no neighbors for half a mile, just the sound of wind brushing against tall trees and a dirt road that led nowhere. Perfect for someone who wanted peace. At least that's what I thought I wanted. The landlord, Mr. Harlan, was a thin old man with cloudy eyes and a voice that never seemed to rise above a whisper. He handed me the keys with a faint smile and said, "You'll be fine here, long as you don't mess with the basement. The floor's unstable down there." I remember laughing. He didn't. He just looked at me for a few seconds too long, like he wanted to say something else, but didn't. The house itself felt off. Not haunted exactly, just wrong in ways you couldn't describe. The light bulbs flickered no matter how many times I replaced them. The walls seemed to hold sound longer than they should. And every night the air grew heavier, as if the house itself was breathing slower than me. The first 2 nights I brushed it off. I blamed the creaks on settling wood, the chills on bad insulation. But on the 3rd night, everything changed. I was at my desk finishing some late-night work. Outside, the wind was still, and the trees stood perfectly motionless. That's when it came. Knock. Sharp. Hollow. From somewhere inside. I froze. It wasn't the front door. It wasn't the window. It came from the kitchen, where the basement door was. I told myself it was nothing. A draft, maybe. But when I walked closer, the air felt colder, almost wet. The doorknob was cold against my fingers, and damp, like someone had just been holding it from the other side. "Mr. Harlan?" I whispered his name into the dark kitchen. No answer. Only the sound of the refrigerator humming. Too loud, too fast. I leaned my ear against the door. For a moment, nothing. Then a faint scrape, like fingernails on wood, slowly dragging upward. I stumbled back. My flashlight slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull clank. The noise stopped. And then, click. The doorknob turned. It moved slowly, inch by inch, until it faced sideways. And then the door opened on its own. A thin line of darkness spilling into the kitchen like black smoke. Something smelled metallic, like rust or blood. I couldn't move. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. The air coming from the basement felt alive, like it was breathing against my skin. I slammed the door shut, shoved a chair against it, and ran back to my room. Didn't sleep, didn't blink, just sat there waiting for morning. When sunlight finally crept through the blinds, I called Mr. Harlan. "Hey, someone's been in the basement, I think." A pause. Then, quietly, "Did you open the door?" "No," I lied. He sighed. "Good, keep it that way." Then he hung up. That evening, I decided to check the outside of the house. I wanted to see where that basement entrance led, if there was an outside door, a vent, anything. There wasn't. The foundation was solid brick, no side doors, no windows, not even a gap where stairs might fit. There was no basement, at least not one that could physically exist. That night, around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Not a knock this time, but footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps coming from under the floorboards. I grabbed my flashlight and crept toward the sound. The closer I got to the kitchen, the colder the air became. And then I saw it. The basement door, the one I'd barricaded with a chair, was wide open. The chair now stood neatly against the opposite wall, as if someone had moved it gently aside. I aimed the flashlight at the stairs below. The beam flickered against damp wooden steps leading into absolute black. The air coming up was heavy. It smelled old, damp, and alive. And under the hum of the silence, I heard a whisper. A voice, soft, close, almost brushing my ear. "You shouldn't be here, Daniel." My blood froze. The light in my hand flickered, once, twice, and then revealed a shadow at the bottom of the stairs, a tall, still silhouette facing the wall. And as the beam steadied for just a heartbeat, I saw its reflection in something metallic near its feet, a reflection that shouldn't have been possible from that angle, because the reflection was me. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. The flashlight trembled in my hand, the beam cutting through the thick air that smelled of wet earth and rust. The figure at the bottom of the stairs hadn't moved. It stood perfectly still, facing the wall, shoulders slightly hunched, like someone waiting for me to say something. I blinked, and in that instant, it was gone. The stairs were empty. My heartbeat thudded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I stepped back and shut the basement door again, this time locking it and pushing the fridge halfway in front of it. I didn't sleep that night either. Every sound, the wind, the creak of wood, even my own breath, felt like it was coming from beneath the floor. By morning, the lock was snapped clean off. I called Mr. Harland again. No answer this time. Straight to voicemail. I tried again at noon, then evening. Nothing. Finally, I decided to drive to his address, the one written on the lease. It was only 20 minutes away, down a road that curved along the woods. But when I got there, the house was abandoned. Windows boarded, mailbox rusted, roof sagging in the middle. The grass in the yard had grown waist-high. There was no sign anyone had lived there in years. I drove back to Cedar Hill, trying to convince myself maybe he'd moved and forgotten to tell me. But the longer I stared at the road ahead, the more wrong it felt, like I was driving towards something that already knew I was coming back. When I reached home, the front door was open. I know I locked it before leaving. The kitchen smelled stronger now, wet iron and something else, something sweet and rotten, like fruit left to decay in the sun. The fridge had been moved away from the basement door, and the door itself was cracked open again. Someone or something wanted me to go down there. I should have left. I should have packed up and driven as far as I could, but something about that doorway felt magnetic, like it was pulling me in. I grabbed the flashlight again and slowly descended the stairs. Each step groaned under my weight. The deeper I went, the colder the air became. My breath turned visible, white mist swirling in front of my face. The stairs ended at a dirt floor. The flashlight beam caught pieces of old furniture, broken glass, and something else. Shards of a large mirror scattered across the ground. The frame lay broken beside it, ornate and gold, now covered in dust and cobwebs. But even shattered, the pieces still reflected light, only not mine. The reflection I saw staring back at me wasn't matching my movements. When I tilted my head left, it tilted right. When I stepped forward, it stayed still, eyes wide and fixed on me. Then its mouth moved. It spoke without sound at first. Then, faintly, through the cold air, a whisper crawled out. "Help me." I stumbled backward, the beam of the flashlight swinging across the walls. That's when I saw the carvings, symbols scratched deep into the concrete foundation, circles, numbers, something that looked like a name written over and over again, Harlan. I heard footsteps behind me, bare feet slapping against wet ground. When I spun around, the reflection in the shards was gone, but the mirror frame was no longer empty. There was now a faint image in the glass, the hallway upstairs, and the kitchen table. And standing there, in that reflection, was me. Only this version of me was smiling. Slowly, the reflection raised a hand and waved. Then, in the corner of the broken mirror, I saw something else move. A shadow, tall, thin, twisting unnaturally as it stepped out of view. The light flickered once, twice, and went out completely. The darkness swallowed me whole. For a few seconds there was silence. Then I heard breathing. Slow, heavy, inches from my face. I swung the flashlight upward and pressed the button. The beam came back for half a second, enough to see it. My own face, pale, wet, eyes black as coal, staring back from just an arm's length away. And then it whispered again, but this time it wasn't asking for help. It said, "You're not supposed to be here. I am." The flashlight died for good. When I came to, I was lying on my kitchen floor. The sun was rising through the window. The basement door was closed. My phone lay beside me, cracked, showing a recording I didn't remember starting. The screen showed me walking down the basement stairs, over and over, in a loop. Only I never recorded it. I woke up that morning. The sun was already high, spilling light through the curtains. For a moment, I thought everything had been just a nightmare, until I looked at my phone again. The screen was cracked, but the video was still playing. The same footage, looping endlessly. Me walking down the stairs, over and over. But this time, I noticed something new. In the last few seconds, before the video restarted, I could see my reflection turn toward the camera and smile. I threw the phone on the counter, my hand shaking. Every part of me wanted to leave that house, but something in the back of my mind whispered, "Check the mirror again." So, like a fool, I listened. I went down those stairs again, every creak of wood echoing like a scream. The air was heavier now, wet, cold, almost alive. The shards of the broken mirror still lay scattered across the dirt floor, glinting faintly in the flashlight's beam. But one thing was different. The largest shard in the center wasn't reflecting the basement anymore. It was reflecting my kitchen. And there, standing by the table, was me. Only this version looked wrong. The skin too pale, the eyes too dark, the smile stretched too wide. It raised a hand slowly, mimicking me, but a few seconds too late, like a broken video feed. Then, without warning, it leaned forward, placing its hand flat on the inside of the mirror. The glass rippled. I dropped the flashlight and stumbled backward. My reflection's eyes followed mine, and it whispered through the glass, the sound vibrating through the air like static. "You left the door open." I froze. Upstairs, I heard it. The slow creak of the front door moving on its hinges. Footsteps. Heavy, wet footsteps. I ran up the stairs, nearly tripping on the last step. The living room was empty, but muddy footprints led from the front door straight to the hallway mirror. And that's when I realized something horrifying. The reflection in that hallway mirror wasn't copying me anymore. It stood completely still while I moved. Its chest rose and fell as if it were breathing, slow and deliberate. Then it took one step forward inside the mirror, and a thin crack formed across the glass. I backed away, whispering, "No, no, no, this isn't real!" But the reflection tilted its head, that same unnatural smile curling across its lips. Then it raised one finger and pressed it against the inside of the mirror. The glass split. A long, jagged line ran from top to bottom. I heard a soft sound behind me, like fabric tearing, and turned around just in time to see the mirror on the other wall crack the same way. Every mirror in the house began to fracture, one by one, in perfect sync. The sound was deafening, glass splitting, splintering, screaming. The air shimmered like heat rising off asphalt. And then everything went silent. When I opened my eyes again, I was in my kitchen, morning light, my phone on the counter, the mirror perfectly fine. No cracks, no reflection out of place. For a second, I thought maybe I've finally woken up. Then my phone buzzed. A new video notification. File name 2025.10-12.403 AM. .move. I pressed play. It showed the basement, the dirt floor, the mirror shards, and someone crawling out of them. Someone who looked exactly like me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I blinked, I saw it. The figure crawling out of the mirror, dragging itself across the dirt floor, eyes fixed on me. But when I went down to the basement, the mirror was gone. Every single shard had vanished. The floor was smooth, untouched, as if it had never shattered in the first place. That should have comforted me. It didn't, because the silence in the house felt wrong. It wasn't empty. It was watching. At 3:17 a.m., I heard the first sound. A soft tapping. Not on the door, not on the windows, from inside the walls. It came from the hallway, slow, steady, rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. I pressed my ear to the drywall and my stomach twisted. Something was moving in there, breathing. Then I heard a whisper right behind the wall. "Let me out!" I stumbled backward, heart hammering, and ran to the kitchen to grab my phone. But when I turned the screen on, it wasn't showing the home screen anymore. It was the camera app, recording. And I wasn't in the frame. No, he was. The same version of me from the video, standing exactly where I was standing, holding a phone, recording me. Only I wasn't there. He turned his head slowly toward the camera, those dark, glassy eyes staring right through me. Then he whispered, clear as day, "You stayed too long." The screen glitched. Static flickered across the display, the sound distorting into a low growl. When the feed stabilized, I saw him walking through the house, dragging his hand across the walls, leaving black smears that pulsed like veins. Then he stopped in front of the hallway mirror. He turned, looked straight into the lens, and said, "Switch." The phone dropped from my hand. I didn't even realize it, but my body felt heavy, like I was being pulled backward. The air thickened, humming, the lights flickering violently. I reached for the counter to steady myself, but my reflection didn't move. It just smiled. The next second, everything went dark. When I woke up, I was staring at the mirror again. But this time, I wasn't standing in front of it. I was inside it. The glass pressed cold against my palms. My voice echoed, muffled as I screamed, "Help! Somebody!" But the sound didn't escape. Through the other side, I could see him. He was in my kitchen, drinking coffee, checking his phone, living my life. And when he caught me staring, he smiled again, lifted his mug, and whispered, "You should have never come back." Then he turned off the lights, and everything around me, my reflection world, plunged into shadow. No sound, no warmth, no escape. Only the faint hum of something moving behind me. Something breathing. I turned slowly, and in the darkness, dozens of faces stared back, reflections all trapped behind the glass, eyes hollow, mouths open in silent screams. One of them whispered, "He traded places with all of us." I pressed my hands harder against the glass, screaming, pounding, bleeding. But on the other side, my reflection walked away, calm, whistling softly. And then he looked back one last time and said, "I'll take good care of your life." He switched off the light, and when the darkness settled, I finally saw what I'd become. My reflection in the shattered pieces around me wasn't even human anymore. It was stretching, shifting, my face melting into dozens of others. And from the farthest corner of the mirror realm, a low voice whispered, "You're not the first. You won't be the last." The darkness pressed in from every side. I could feel it breathing around me, moving, twisting through the shadows. Then I heard it, a slow, deliberate tapping. Not the same as before. This was closer, under the glass, behind the mirrors. A voice, faint but unmistakable, hissed through the cracks. "Play with us." I turned, desperate, trying to find an edge to escape, but the world inside the mirror had no corners, no walls, just infinite reflections staring back, shifting and whispering, their faces melting in impossible ways. One reflection stepped forward. It looked like me, but wrong. Too long, too thin, its eyes hollow pools of black. "You can't leave," it said, voice echoing like glass breaking. I ran, or tried to, but every step brought me back to the same spot, the hallway mirror. And there he was, my reflection, standing, calm, watching, smiling. "You learned nothing," he said softly. "Time to finish the swap." The glass shimmered, warping like liquid, and suddenly I was falling, not down, but through layer after layer of mirrors into worlds of screaming reflections, all trapped, all silent, all watching. I screamed, but no sound escaped. I tried to touch the surface, to push back, but my hand sank into the glass, pulling me deeper. Then I felt it. A hand, my own hand maybe, grasped my shoulder from behind. Cold, heavy, real. I spun and saw dozens of me, each twisted, each grinning, each whispering, "Join us." The world around me shattered. Mirrors exploded into fragments of reality, each shard reflecting a different nightmare. And through the chaos, I realized the horrifying truth. There was no me anymore, only them, only the reflections. And the last thing I saw before everything went black, my own face, calm, smiling, stepping through the kitchen door. I opened my eyes, but it wasn't my bedroom, not my house, not even my world. I was standing, no, floating in a void of fractured mirrors. Each shard reflected a different version of me, twisted, screaming silently, trapped forever. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the glass. Then I saw him, me, my reflection, my killer, walking calmly through my kitchen, living my life, smiling, drinking coffee, checking his phone. "You shouldn't have come back," he said. "Cedar Hill Road has a way of keeping what it wants." The shards around me began to tremble, black veins spreading across each fragment. Whispers rose in unison, "Join us forever." I tried to move, to escape, but every step forward was swallowed by another mirror. Another version of me reached out, dragging me back, whispering promises I didn't want to hear. Then I felt it, a pull, stronger than fear, stronger than gravity. I was being dragged toward the largest mirror, the one I recognized, the one that started it all. Through the glass, I saw my life, my bed, my house, my friends, my world. And him, calm, smiling, me. The pull intensified, my hand scratched, bleeding on the cold surface. My reflection's smile widened. "You'll be perfect here, and I'll be perfect there." With one final, impossible force, I was yanked through the mirror. Everything went black. I woke up in my own body. My house, my life, everything seemed normal. Too normal. Then I saw the mirror across the hallway. My reflection wasn't me. It was calm, smiling, drinking coffee, holding my phone, living my life. I tried to scream, but my voice sounded wrong, distant, muffled, like it was trapped somewhere else. And then I heard it, from the other side, from the glass. "Welcome to Cedar Hill Road." The lights flickered, the house groaned, and I realized in horror that my life was no longer mine. And behind me, in the mirror, dozens of faces smiled, whispering, laughing, watching. I was the last and the first. The house had chosen, and Cedar Hill Road would always claim what it wanted.